The rain hit the cracked windows of the old apartment like it wanted to break in and drag Mia down with it. She sat on the edge of a stained mattress, hugging her knees, wrapped in a hoodie 2 sizes too big. Her stomach growled again, reminding her it had been almost 2 days since she had a proper meal. But hunger was nothing new. At 19, Mia had already seen enough struggle to last 3 lifetimes. Her mother had died from untreated cancer when Mia was just 15. Her father had disappeared a year later, leaving behind a pile of debts and the cold silence of abandonment. Since then, life had been a grind of low-paying jobs, skipped rent and hunger. She was a virgin, not by choice or virtue, but because no one had ever gotten close enough to break down the thick wall she'd built around herself. Love was a fairy tale. She stopped believing in years ago, but desperation makes people do things they never thought they'd consider. That night, her phone buzzed. An anonymous message. Short, straightforward, disgusting. $2 million. Your virginity, one night, discreet. Interested? She stared at the message like it was a joke, but the sender attached a contact card. No name, just an assistant. The area code was from the capital, high level, elite, dangerous. She didn't respond right away. But her mind was already doing the math. $2 million, that would erase every debt. That would get her out of this city, buy her mother the tombstone she deserved, maybe even start over somewhere else. A new life, a new beginning. Her hand trembled as she typed, "Who's the buyer?" The reply came instantly. "Confidential, but powerful. Highest office in the country. Say the word and the car picks you up tomorrow." Mia closed her eyes and let out a long, painful breath. She hadn't been touched, hadn't been kissed, but she had been broken long ago in ways that didn't involve bodies. She typed, "I'll do it." The next day, the car came. Blacked out windows, silent driver, no questions asked. She didn't pack anything, just wore her best cheap dress, combed her hair, and forced a layer of lipstick on lips that had only known words of survival. They drove her for hours. Out of the city, through winding roads, and finally into a gated estate so massive, it looked like something from a magazine. When she stepped out of the car, she was met by a woman in a suit. Cold eyes, no smile. "Mia, right? You'll follow. Me. Rules are simple. You do what he says. You speak only when spoken to. No photos, no trace. You get the money after, not before." Mia nodded, too numb to speak. She was led to a lavish room, soft lighting, expensive everything. She could smell the luxury in the air, and then the door opened. He walked in like he owned the world, because he did. President Richard Hale, the man on every screen, married, smiling, powerful, and now, here, standing in front of her, his eyes crawling over her like she was meat. "You're even prettier than the photos," he said with a smirk. She couldn't breathe. She wasn't ready, but she had agreed. She couldn't back out now. He stepped closer. His hand brushed her cheek. "Don't worry, Mia, I'll be gentle. It's your first time, after all." And just like that, her innocence wasn't hers anymore. Mia stared at the ceiling, the silk sheets beneath her a cruel contrast to the ache in her chest. The chandelier above glittered like stars, mocking her from a world she didn't belong to. Her body was sore, but it was the silence in the room that hurt the most, like something sacred had been buried here. President Hale had already left the bed, slipping into his tailored shirt like nothing had happened. He didn't say much. Just looked at her once, satisfied, smug, and walked into the bathroom like a man who had just wrapped up a meeting. Mia slowly sat up, the blanket clinging to her skin. She didn't cry. Not yet. She had promised herself that. She told herself this was a transaction, a deal. She had sold something and now she would be paid. But her heart didn't know how to file this moment away like just another night. It didn't feel like money. It felt like loss. When he returned, he was fully dressed again, hair slicked back, phone in hand. "My people will handle the transfer. You'll get your money within the hour," he said, not even glancing at her. She nodded, barely able to lift her head. "Okay." He stopped near the door, then added with a smirk, "You were better than I expected. Shame you waited so long. Someone could have enjoyed you before I did." That was the first time her face cracked. He left. The room was colder after he was gone. A few minutes later, the suited assistant returned, her face as unreadable as ever. "You may shower and get dressed. We'll have you taken back shortly." Mia stood under hot water for nearly half an hour. It didn't clean anything. Her skin felt the same. Her soul, different. As she dressed, she kept thinking of her mother's voice, the way she used to say, "Your body is yours, baby. Don't ever let the world tell you different." She had let the world win last night. When she got back in the car, the driver said nothing. So a manila envelope sat beside her. Inside, confirmation of the $2 million wired to an offshore account already in her name. It felt like a curse disguised as a reward. The car didn't take her home. Instead, it stopped at a hotel downtown, a suite booked under an alias. Another silent instruction. That's when it hit her. This wasn't over. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "You belong to us now. Keep your mouth shut and we'll keep making you rich." Her stomach dropped. It hadn't been a one-time thing. She hadn't just sold her virginity. She had sold herself, and they weren't done. Mia looked out the hotel window. The city below sparkled like temptation. She had the money, more than she ever dreamed, but it came with a leash. She wasn't just a girl who slept with a powerful man. She was a secret, a liability, and secrets like her, they didn't get to walk away. Mia didn't sleep that night. She sat curled up on the velvet armchair in the hotel suite, eyes fixed on the city lights, mind racing with thoughts she couldn't outrun. She kept checking the money in the account, like it would make it more real. $2 million just sitting there. But it didn't feel like hers, it felt borrowed, like blood money. And then that message replayed in her mind again and again. "You belong to us now." Not thank you, not farewell, not even a promise of silence. It was a threat dressed as a favor, a reminder that she wasn't free, not really. The next morning she got her answer. A knock at the door. Not the cleaning staff. Not room service. 2 men in plain black suits. No smiles, no words. Just a curt nod from one of them. "Miss Carter, you have an appointment. Now." She didn't want to go. Her gut twisted with fear. But something in their posture, the way their hands hovered near their jackets, she knew she didn't have a choice. These weren't bodyguards. These were cleaners, fixers, the kind of people who handled the president's problems before they became headlines. They drove her to a sleek grey building with no signs, just chrome walls and tinted glass. Inside she was led to a clinical white room, empty except for a chair, a table, and a woman sitting across from her. Red lipstick, ice-cold stare. "Sit," the woman ordered. Mia obeyed. "You've been given something most people never will. Wealth and protection," she began. "But you need to understand how things work now." Mia stayed silent. The woman continued. "The president is a powerful man. Powerful men need secrecy. They need loyalty. You understand that?" "Yes," Mia muttered. "No, you don't, but you will." A file was pushed across the table. Inside were pictures of Mia, in bed, with him. Candid angles, her face, his hands. Every shameful detail. Mia's breath caught. "This is insurance," the woman said calmly. "You talk, you disappear. These pictures hit the media. You become a scandal. He walks away untouched. You become the whore who seduced a married president." Mia's hands clenched into fists. "You're threatening me." "No, we're educating you." The woman leaned in close. "You have 2 options. So live comfortably, get paid, travel, stay discreet, or runs and be hunted. Because trust me, Mia, you're not the first." Mia's heart pounded. "And what if I just want out?" The woman tilted her head. "There's no out. There's only forward." The rest of the day passed like a blur. She was dropped off at a luxury condo, owned by some shell company. Designer clothes already hanging in the closet, a black card on the nightstand, everything she could want, everything she didn't ask for. And later that night, another text, unknown number. "The president wants to see you next weekend. Be ready." That was the moment the real fear settled in. This wasn't just a dirty secret anymore. She was being groomed, kept, owned. But Mia wasn't stupid. She didn't survive poverty to become someone's pet. and if they thought she'd stay, silent forever. They didn't know her at all. The days blurred together, each one wrapped in the kind of luxury Mia had only seen in movies. Her new condo overlooked the city skyline, expensive wine in the fridge, $1,000 shoes she didn't. Ask for stacked neatly by the door, but every inch of the place smelled like a cage. A silent velvet prison. She kept waiting for someone to break the illusion, to remind her she didn't belong here. But no one came. No guards, no threats. Just the occasional text with details of her next meeting, as if she were a conference on the president's calendar. Her next appointment was a Friday night. Same process. Car shows up, silent driver, taken to an anonymous estate hours from the city. She was led inside, dressed in designer silk, and left alone in a room that reeked of power and sin. He entered, like always, calm, confident, possessive. "Miss me?" he said with that arrogant smirk. She didn't reply. He took what he wanted. Again, no warmth, no care. Just hunger, disguised as charm. And when he was done, he offered her wine, like they were lovers instead of predator and prey. "You're special," he said, sipping slowly. "I don't keep many girls around." "Lucky me," Mia muttered, the bitterness leaking through. He chuckled. "You've got fire, I like that, but don't let it burn you." She smiled just slightly. "What happens to the others?" He paused. "They leave." She didn't ask if they left alive. That night, she didn't cry. She didn't even feel anything. Her mind had already started working, calculating, watching. She needed a plan. Back in her condo, Mia began digging, quietly, carefully. She used one of the burner phones they had given her for private communication and accessed a VPN. She created a fake identity online, one that couldn't be traced back to her. Then she started searching. It didn't take long. There were whispers, old scandals buried deep under headlines, stories of interns gone missing, a journalist who once claimed to have evidence of a powerful man's secret girls, dead 6, months later in a staged suicide. The pieces were there, scattered in digital dust. And Mia, she was a new piece, one that didn't want to disappear quietly. So she reached out to one person, a journalist named Elise Granger, fired years ago for breach of protocol after she published a piece about a sex ring tied to government officials. Now she ran an underground site for anonymous whistleblowers. Not flashy, not famous, but the kind of person who knew what. Silence cost. Mia didn't use names, not yet. She sent a message. "I have proof, photos, money trail, and the president is involved. Do you believe in ghosts?" Elise replied within hours. "I've been chasing this ghost for years. Send me something real and I'll burn it all down." Mia hesitated. One wrong move and she was dead, but staying quiet. That would kill her slower. She sent one photo, just one, of her in his bed, face visible, his arm around her waist. A message followed from Elise. "Meet me, in person, midnight. I'll bring protection. You bring the rest." It was time. Mia wasn't just a girl anymore. She was a fuse, and someone was about to burn. The city was quieter than usual that night. Or maybe Mia was just hearing less of it, drowned in her own thoughts as the cab rolled toward the warehouse district. Midnight, a location Elise had sent just an hour ago. No names, no phones, come alone. She didn't know if she was walking into safety or a trap. But when you're already owned, any step outside the leash feels like freedom, even if it leads to a bullet. The cab dropped her off near an old freight building, the kind that used to carry goods and now just carried ghosts. Mia walked past the broken fences and graffiti-covered walls until she saw the woman waiting in the shadows. Elise Granger looked exactly like someone who'd pissed off the government and lived to talk about it. Messy hair, sharp eyes, and a leather jacket that had seen better days. She was leaning against a rusted column, holding a cigarette like a weapon. "You're her?" Elise asked, voice low. Mia nodded. "Yeah, I thought you'd look more scared." "I am. I just hide it better now." Elise gave a dry smile. "Good. You'll need that." They walked into the building, up to a small room lit by a single lamp and covered in old case files, newspaper clippings and corkboards full of red string. a conspiracy theorist's dream, or a truth-seeker's nightmare. Mia pulled out the drive she had kept hidden, one she secretly made from the files. The woman in the white room had shown her. She'd copied everything she could from the laptop they let her use. Appointment logs, emails, security footage, even financial records routed through fake charities. She placed the drive on the table like it was nuclear material. "I need your help," she said, "not just to expose him. I need to survive what happens after." Elise picked up the drive like it was gold. "You just gave me the most powerful blackmail file this city's seen in decades. You'll survive. Because now, they'll want you silenced more than ever." They worked for hours going through the files, and as the pieces fell into place, Elise's face grew darker. "There's more than you," she said finally. "This is a whole system. Girls like you, recruited, paid off, silenced. Some disappear, some turn up dead. You're not just exposing a predator, you're pulling the curtain on a monster factory." Mia already knew that. The next step was dangerous. They needed backup, protection. But Mia didn't trust the police. She didn't trust politicians. She barely trusted the air around her. But Elise had people, activists, hackers, rogue ex-FBI agents who hated what the system had become. They agreed to help. The plan was simple but risky. Leak the files. Anonymously at first. Get the public curious, get the media buzzing. Then Mia would step forward, name him, face the world, make them look her in the eye and deny what they already knew was true. But before they could begin, Mia's burner phone buzzed. A message. Unknown. Number. "We warned you. We trusted you. Now you've forced our hand." Then a second message, a photo, of her condo. Windows shattered, her things torn apart, and blood on the white sheets. Mia's chest went cold. She looked at Elise. "They were there," she whispered. "They know." Elise stood up fast, grabbed her jacket. "We need to move, now." They weren't safe anymore. The files had bought her a war, and now they were coming. Mia's heart pounded so loud she could barely hear Elise over the roar in her head. Blood, her condo. They'd been inside. She didn't know whose blood it was, and that terrified her even more. Could have been a warning. Could have been a message. Or it could have been a kill she hadn't heard about yet. "We can't go back to the city," Elise said, stuffing the drive and her laptop into a worn duffel bag. "They're not just watching now, they're hunting." Mia stood frozen, still staring at the photo. "I should have kept quiet," she whispered. Elise stopped packing. "Don't say that. They could have killed someone. Because of me. They will kill someone. They've done it before, that's why you have to keep going." They escaped out the back of the warehouse where a friend of Elise's waited in a beat-up pickup truck. His name was Gerald, ex-military, deadpan serious, and very good at disappearing. Within an hour they were off-grid, no phones, no IDs, no trace. Gerald drove through the night, miles away from any cameras or roads worth naming. They reached an old hunting cabin deep in the woods near the border. No one knew about it but Elise, and she swore it wasn't connected to anything digital. It became their war room. Every morning Mia woke up feeling like she didn't belong in her own body. Some days she hated herself, hated how she let it happen, hated how she let herself become this. But then Elise would remind her, "You didn't choose this, you survived it." So she kept working, planning, rehearsing her statement, practicing her voice. Preparing for the moment her face would be on every screen in the country. Then one night Gerald came back from a supply run with news that cracked the walls around their safe house. President Hale's campaign just posted a press release, he said grimly. "They're launching a new initiative for women's rights and safety, press conference scheduled for tomorrow. He's going to use it to bury the story, paint himself as a champion." Mia stared at him, stunned. "He's flipping." "It," Gerald nodded, "and if he gets ahead of it, no one will believe you." That's when Elise made the call. "We go now." "Now? You go public tonight," she said. "Right before his press conference. No warning. We dump everything. You record your testimony, we leak the files, and we stream your face to the entire goddamn country." Mia's hands shook as she agreed. It was the moment she'd been building toward. But now that it was here, it felt like standing on the edge of a skyscraper. They set up the camera in the cabin's smallest room. Elise adjusted the lighting. Gerald watched the road outside like a hawk. Mia sat in front of the lens. She took a deep breath, and she told her story. No tears, no theatrics, just the truth, raw, steady, and brutal. I was 19, poor, alone. And I sold my virginity to the President of the United States. Not because I wanted to, but because I thought I had no choice. And he didn't just take my body, he made me a prisoner, threatened me, used me, silenced me. And now they're trying to kill me to keep it quiet. But I won't be silent anymore. She stared into the lens, and for the first time in weeks she didn't feel like prey. She felt like fire. They uploaded the video, sent the files to journalists, triggered every backup protocol, and waited. Somewhere out there, the world was about to change, and Mia was done hiding. The video dropped at 3:27 a.m. By 3:40. It had over 1 million views. By 4:00, every major news outlet was scrambling to verify the story that just detonated the internet. Woman accuses president of coercion, releases files, photos, and financial evidence. By sunrise, Mia Carter's face was everywhere, not as a prostitute, not as a scandal, as a whistleblower, as a survivor, as a threat. The cabin had no TV, but Gerald had a shortwave radio and a laptop hooked through a scrambled connection. They watched the madness unfold in silence. News anchors stumbled over their words. Analysts debated whether the photos were real. Some defended her, others tore her apart. But no one could ignore her now. The president's camp went into full panic mode. Press secretary dodged questions. White House refused comment. Suddenly, the Women's Rights Initiative was postponed. And then, the real backlash began. She's a liar, one senator declared. She's doing this for money, for fame. She was of legal age. This isn't abuse, it's regret, another pundit hissed, but every lie they threw only made the truth louder. Elise's network of underground journalists flooded social media with timelines, comparisons, archived footage, and digital receipts that matched Mia's files perfectly. There were no holes in her story. It was airtight. Worse for them, it was believable. By noon, 2 more women had come forward, and by the evening news, a third one appeared on camera. The floodgates had cracked. The president went silent. No press appearances, no live statements, just a rushed statement from a legal representative claiming Mia was a manipulated, mentally unstable young woman, coerced by political enemies. That's when Gerald sat up straight. They're not trying to fight you anymore, they're trying to erase you. And he was right. The cabin was supposed to be safe. But nothing stays hidden forever. That night, Gerald caught movement in the gear. Woods. Just a flash. A figure too close to the tree line. He didn't wait. He slammed the cabin lights off and shouted, "Get down!" Gunshots tore through the air seconds later. Glass shattered. Wood splintered. Mia hit the ground, heart hammering. Like a drum inside her chest. Elise. "Mia, crawl to the back, now!" Gerald barked, returning fire. They moved on instinct. Elise grabbed the drive. Mia grabbed the burner phone, and they fled through the back window into the woods. Gerald stayed behind, covering their escape. They ran. Branches whipped against Mia's face. The cold night air burned her lungs, but she didn't stop. Didn't slow down. Not when she heard the second round of gunfire. And then, silence. Gerald's gun stopped. "Elise," Mia gasped, looking back. "Keep running," Elise screamed. They found an old road. Elise flagged down a passing truck. An old couple pulled over, shocked by the sight of 2 dirt-covered women emerging from the woods. Elise lied quickly. "Car broke down, we were hiking, please just get us to town." The couple agreed. As the truck pulled away, Mia looked back once more at the trees. Gerald was gone, maybe alive, maybe not. But he'd bought them time. And Mia knew now. This wasn't just about truth anymore. This was war. And if they wanted to take her down, they were going to have to drag her through fire. 3 days passed like smoke. Mia and Elise moved between safe houses like shadows, never staying long, never answering the same number twice. The video was everywhere now. Her name was on every news ticker in the world. Some people called her a hero. Others called her a liar, a slut, a gold digger. But no one ignored her anymore. The death of Gerald made it real. He hadn't just protected her body, he protected her truth. His blood was on their hands, and Mia was done playing defense. So they went on the offensive. Elise's underground crew began releasing more files. Everything Mia had copied. Names, connections, payments made to other women, private messages sent from burner phones connected to Hale's staff. It painted a sickening portrait, not just a powerful man abusing his position, but an entire system built to feed his appetite. And finally it happened. The president cracked. He appeared at a hastily arranged press conference, flanked by his legal team. His face was pale, his voice flat, trying to hold control in a storm he could no longer steer. "I deny these claims," he said, eyes empty. "These are coordinated attacks, politically motivated. I have never forced or coerced any woman." But his voice betrayed him, and the world was watching. 2 hours later, another woman, older, once a staffer, now a teacher in Ohio, came forward with her own story. She'd been 17. He'd promised her a job. She got silence instead. It was over. Congress called for a formal investigation. Civil suits began to pile up. Protests erupted across cities. His political allies started pulling away, distancing themselves like rats leaving a sinking ship. And Mia? She stood in front of a live crowd of reporters, her face bare, her voice steady. "You tried to bury me. You tried to shame me, but you made one mistake," she said. "You thought I'd stay silent. You thought money would be enough to erase what you did, but it wasn't. Because I'm not ashamed. You are." The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Some cried. The president resigned 2 weeks later under medical and personal strain. No apology, no confession, just a quiet exit, surrounded by scandal and disgrace. Mia never saw him again, but she didn't need to, because she won. Not just the money. Not just the headlines. She won back her power. A year later, she started a foundation for girls who thought they had no way out, for women sold under promises, cornered into silence. It was called the Carter Fund, and when people asked why she named it after herself, she simply said, "Because I want them to know I lived. I wasn't a secret, I wasn't a scandal, I was the beginning of the end." And she was, because Mia wasn't. Just the girl who sold her virginity to a predator in power. She was the woman who burned his whole kingdom to the ground,